Hello everybody. I was gonna make you guess where we are today, but you probably already seen the title. So as you see in the title, we at Mount Washington in New Hampshire. What you see there in the distance is the Cog Railroad, one of the most steepest railroads in the world. And I'm gonna take a ride on it in a few seconds, so I hope you stick around to go on the ride with us. There are three ways to get to the top. One is the railroad, and the other is by car on this road here. That seemed a little dangerous to us. It's probably a lot of fun and a lot of beautiful views, but we might save it for next time. Your Cog Railroad journey will start at the base station here, what you see in the picture. One thing I would suggest to purchase your tickets online versus the spot, because they, as far as we heard, they sell out pretty quickly. So here they have some of the more historic equipment, I guess it was used to maintain the track. There's also a museum inside the station, but we'll get to that after we come back. And here's our train, which we're gonna board in a few seconds. So this one is a biodiesel. They also have coal trains. The biggest question that comes to my mind right now is, how does this train climb up such a steep, high terrain without slipping? Well, that makes this road railroad very unique. There's actually a giant bicycle chain. It sits right in the middle of the track, and there's a gear called, which you see right here, which is called cog, that actually attached to the axle of the wheels that helps it climb up without slipping. And in case you're wondering, that's where the Cog Railroad name came from. It's using a patented march rack system, which we'll get to a little later in this video. Okay, well now it's time to board the train and start our journey. So you got a assigned seat here, so they all numbered. Those seats that were designed in 1866, what I see by that date here, is actually they flip back and forth, so no matter which way you're going, you're always facing the front, which is kind of cool. And for those who want to try the coal train, that's what it looks like. It's actually a real experience. I'm going to stay quiet here and listen to our guide.
And that was our big boom in trade and commerce, population growth up here. Many people started moving up here, calling it home. A lot of industries located here. And but another thing that happened was the discovery of tourism. Can you imagine Mrs. Carnegie and Mrs. Rockefeller laying on the ground in a tent out here? They had money, all the money in the world, and they demanded better accommodations. So within a period of about 20-25 years, they ended up building 33 grand hotels up here, including the Mount Washington Hotel. How many of you are familiar with the Mount Washington Hotel? You might have seen it on the way in. Looks like a big white castle with a red metal roof.
Now we're getting closer to the transfer table and the passing loop. The original track was single track going from the base to the summit, but as popularity grew, they built this passing loop and transfer station. And see, this gives us a little perspective how they were doing it manually. And here's solar powered, hydraulically operated track mounted on a sliding steel platforms, fully automated. And here's another train coming down. They're waiting for us to go by. It's, this loop kind of allowed two trains to be operating, at the same time on this monorail railroad. So it's kind of cool. Now we're at one of the steepest section of this railroad, Jacob's Ladder, which is 37.41 degree grade, or about 20 degrees. It's definitely pretty steep. I mean, the camera probably doesn't show you the actual angle or how steep it is, but it is relatively steep if you look back there. You don't feel how steep it is if you are sitting down on the seat. So our guide is going to make us do a quick little exercise in a few seconds, which you'll see. They'll kind of help us to, realize how much of the angle the train's actually riding on. There's about 14-foot elevation difference between passengers and the front and the back of the coach.
7% grade fields. I'm going to do a little exercise with you. Let me illustrate what I want you to do first, and I want everybody to try this. Everybody. Good job, folks. Now, while you're trying to stand up straight, if you look off the left side of our coach, we got some really nice views. As far as you can see out there, the Green Mountains in Vermont.
There is actually a reason why you don't feel the steepness of those inclines here. So the seats are built at the angle, so if the train is parked on the flat surface, it looks like they're a little crooked. But once you go up those steep inclines, it makes a big difference. It feels like you are sitting straight. The higher we go up this mountain, the less trees and other vegetation you see. I mean, at this point we'll only see rocks and grass here on the sides. So there's a big difference in the nature once you get up here. I'm sure you remember at the beginning of the video I was telling you there are 3 ways to get there. So another way is to hike up or down the mountain, which you see there in the distance, there's 2 hikers there. And you have to be pretty fearless because it's not an easy trail, and unfortunately not everyone makes it back. And you know, they do have a lot of rescues here because, again, by any standard, this is a very hard trail to hike on. But we got to the top of the mountain, so the train got us here, so we're gonna walk around. The only problem is it got very foggy once we got up, so it's kind of harder to see. But we're at the peak of Mount Washington. Although we're at the, we got up pretty high, but believe it or not, this is actually not one of the highest points of this mountain. So to get to the highest point, with this point is pretty close to us, you have to go up this little trail here, and it does end after a while, and you have to climb those rocks. So it is a little bit of a challenge, but you can tell there's a line of people already waiting to take pictures next to the famous Mount Washington sign, and the highest point of the mountain. And here it is. This is the highest point of the Northeast at Mount Washington. And there's a geo marker right here that gives you our location. And here's the famous sign that a lot of people take pictures of. So it's about 8,800 feet we're up. That's how high we're. It definitely feels different here. It's it's almost like a whole different world. If it wasn't this foggy, we probably would have had better views. But it's even with the fog, it's just amazing, and it's remarkable, being so high up and enjoying this beauty. One thing to just to give you a note on is as you can probably tell, everybody's dressed up. The temperatures here range. There could be a variation of about 40 degrees from down by the base. So just to give you an example, it was around 70s when we left the base on the train. So once we get up here, it got to like mid 30s. So that's a big difference. So it does get colder up here. So that's something you might need to prepare. I would definitely suggest packing some warmer clothes with you. And we've seen some views in the distance. So the fog seems to be clearing up a bit. So we get to see some of it. But again, it's you're up high in the mountains, so you expect those types of conditions. So it does happen. One thing I'm going to tell you again, another thing you want to keep in mind is you only get half an hour to before your train departs. So I'll definitely be mindful of that, because then you'll have to figure out how to get back. And they could probably put you on another train, I'm guessing, but you don't know how busy the road will be, because a lot of hikers use that too to come down. So just want to be mindful of that. But look, we're on the observation deck, and you can barely see around you, so it is a little tricky. And here's that upper side of that road that I showed you in the beginning, and they even have I guess the tours here that take you up on the bus. And of course there is a gift shop all the way at the top, so regardless if you hiked up within this challenging hike, or you took the train, or you drove, you can buy yourself a souvenir, something to remind you of this amazing trip or this amazing place. The half an hour definitely flew by pretty quickly, and we're on the way back. I kind of wish to give you an hour, but it's, you know, we had an amazing experience, so I'm definitely not complaining. But this is great. I mean, now the fog cleared up a little bit, so we can see a lot more. Let me give you some historic facts about this modern marble railroad while we coming down and enjoying this beautiful views. It was designed and built by Sylvester Marsh. He was inspired to build the railway after nearly dying in a storm on Mount Washington in 1852. You know, he believed that this was a safer way to reach the top of the mountain. Marsh was a successful businessman who moved to the Boston area in 1857. He left a successful career in meat packing and grain drying industries behind, and he accumulated enough personal fortune to guarantee him a very comfortable retirement. But he was bored. So one day in August of the same year, along with his pastor, he decided to return to his native New Hampshire to climb the summit of Mount Washington. Little did he knew that that hike would change his life forever, and it would reach down through the years and touch lives of countless others in the form of this cog railway. This cog railroad is his legacy and one of the greatest achievements of industrial age. Well, now we're back at the base station. Our journey has been, it was actually a lot of fun, and it was just amazing. So there is a little gift shop here at the bottom, which again we're going to check out, see what they have here. And there's also a museum which we're going to show in a second. But you know, if you didn't buy any gifts up and by the mountain there, you can buy it here. There's really great selection. I mean, I personally like those magnets because you put them in the fridge and it kind of reminds you where you were. And here's a little museum they have, and it kind of gives you a little historic perspective of the road and, you know, how they come up with the design. I like this banner here on the left. So of course people left his innovation at the beginning, but they didn't realize how amazing this modern marble is. So, you know, the people say they might as well built the railroad to the moon. And that's what the original steam train looks like. So it gives you a little more perspective on, like, basically how it was ran and all the, you know, all the controls that were available here. And here we can see the early days of Cog Railroad. And this on the left is a devil's shingle. So the workers that were actually, you know, when they were taken up to the mountain to work for a day for work, so waiting for a train, they had this interesting dolly type of device that was actually will hook up on the middle rail, or the one that looks like a bicycle chain, and they would come down. And I guess it was a lot faster than taking the train. It's probably a very adventurous ride coming down this rail on this dolly, but I think I'll stick to the train. Might be a little too adventurous for me. Well, on this note, thank you so much for watching, guys, and joining us in this adventure. Until next time.